Joining us now to talk more about the president's border trip is Ron Vitiello, former chief of U.S. Border Patrol and former director of ICE. Ron, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Kelly.
So the president's faced a lot of criticism, as you know, over a perceived lack of action at the border. In your estimation, is this trip too little, too late?
Well, there's no solutions outlined from your reporting. It shows that he didn't go to where this problem is the most acute, which is between the ports of entry. Those people aren't coming up to the port. Some are. There's challenges at the ports of entry. Those are very important assets in a city like El Paso. But he didn't go in between the border, in between the ports, where the Border Patrol is, where they're being overwhelmed by millions and millions of people coming in the last 2 years. They're up to about 8,000 per day every 24 hours. They're completely overwhelmed. The system is overwhelmed. The shelter there by the Catholic Church that you just showed is an example of the poor choices that they've made as it relates to policy on our southwest border. And it's not going to get better based on what he announced on Thursday, offering parole to people. You know, there were 700,000 arrests and encounters so far this year. That doesn't count the people who come to the border and never seen by law enforcement, the so-called gotaways. But almost 500,000 of those people were released into the United States. And his announcement on Thursday is just going to add to that queue of people who believe that they're going to come to the border and be released. And they believe that for very good reason. We can see it with our own eyes. It's happening.
So Biden has condemned some of his predecessors' border policies, but he's also had trouble striking a balance between enforcement and employing humanitarian policies. So either way, we've seen a record-breaking number of crossings in the last year and a half, as Markey outlined. So what do you believe is the answer moving forward?
There has to be a look at what is being incented and what the consequences are for coming across the border. In 2014, when I was in the Border Patrol headquarters, we had a large surge of migrant families, mostly from the Northern Triangle, coming across our border. Our president now was the vice president then. We instituted family detention centers. We held people to account. We held them in detention until they could be removed to their country. Or if they got relief in immigration court, we welcomed them to the United States. We ended the cycle of having people come and be released into the United States. That's what he has to do now. That's what the previous administration did with the migrant protection protocols. The Remain in Mexico or the safe third country is in U.S. law. If they enforce that law across the board at scale, we could minimize this problem. Let the Border Patrol go back to what they know how to do, patrol the border between the ports of entry, seize drugs, save people who are in distress, eliminate human trafficking and rescue those people. That we need to get back to that. And if, yeah, Congress has a role here. Their legislation and resources and all of that is to the good. You have to add those pieces. But right now, he has the ability to control this border, give the career officials who know better the tools that they need to secure that border, so then we can move on and start to do this in a more permanent way.
So the president's visit, of course, follows the announcement of new border policies. You mentioned that. His administration planning to implement those next week. So do you think those policies, like limiting the number of migrants who can enter the U.S. from certain countries each month, will do anything to lessen this crisis?
I don't believe so, right? Having a legal pathway is fine, but the one he's outlined is parole for people who qualify for asylum. What we know historically, this secretary knows that many of those people will not qualify for asylum. And so returning them back into Mexico leaves them in the queue, leaves them into the hands of the traffickers, leaves them right at the border to try again. And with the Border Patrol so overwhelmed with the traffic, they're likely to be successful. And oh, by the way, at the same time, thousands and thousands of pounds of drugs are being smuggled at will by the cartels because the Border Patrol is so covered up in the work that they must do to protect these people and put them into the system. So what he's outlined does not discourage people from sending their families or coming to the border because they're likely to come here and be released.
All right, Ron Vitiello, an important story. We appreciate your insight as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.